Hello everybody, it's Miranda. Welcome back to Crafting in a Small Space. And oh my goodness, so much to show you. So I've never been one of those people that does like a bunch of projects at once, but there's a knit that I told somebody I would do for them, and there is a crocheted blanket for Christmas that I told somebody I would do for them, and then there's my knitted shawl, and yeah, and then there's a hat that I found. So here we go. Okay. So I worked on it a bunch last night, but not nearly as much as I should have because I was watching like Babylon 5 and could not concentrate. Not concentrate. I couldn't, there were moments where I was just like glued to the screen. Anyway, so here is the current width of the blanket. I'm working on the third skein of 4. I might have to buy a 5th one. Trying to keep it without the little fuzzies and stuff on it is a nightmare. But this thing is pretty big. I mean, it's nice and big. At first, this was going to be the width, but then I realized it's one of those blankets where this is the length, not the width. So I've gotten a really good amount of that left to do, but this is the third skein. It's like there's barely any of that one left, and then I'll get the 4th one out of my van. Yeah, so that. And then, so you all know I was working on this blanket. Oh, that's the other thing. This blanket. And for a brief moment, I stole the needles. But I stopped working on it because I realized that all the stores that I shopped at, don't have this green right now, and I don't really want to go on a quest for a blanket that's taking a while. Like, this only took me a few days. But again, this is the length of the blanket, not the width of the blanket, because we all know how I always get that part wrong. But I'm not gonna undo it. I haven't broken up with this project yet. I'm going to still keep it on here because I might be able to find a Walmart that still has it. But, okay, so, oh wait, no, let's show the little project so I can get it out of the way. This is one of the bags I made this last weekend for myself for a knitting project. And while I was going through my crochet stuff and my project stuff, fuzzies from that white big twist yarn has a lot of flyaways. Anyway, so I found this plastic bag that was all squishy. It's like, oh, I wonder why this bag is all squishy. And I was working on a hat sometime last year or more. I make him a lot of hats. But I had all this really nice bamboo yarn that I got on clearance several years ago. And I hadn't knit with it until I met him. And I was making him this really cool 3-color hat. This is the stitch I love the little alternate ribbing. That's one of my favorites. It just looks so cute. I don't know, it's my fave. But I have this project in this bag for when, you know, I just want to do a little baby project. Because, I mean, that hat would take like a couple more hours. I should probably just belt this out later today. Okay, so there is the knit shawl that I said I was going to do for my boss. And I realized that I had made them 2 project bags and that I wanted something to go with the project bags, like more stuff. Give them more stuff. They're like my biggest like supporter and like hype man right now. So they are they. And I crocheted the shawl because I thought, hey, I can shape anything and make anything I look at. This will be super, super easy. But for some reason, I went through, this is all that's left of the skein, those big, giant. And I did this crocheted shawl pattern where you're supposed to see this hole because you just single chain and then turn to do all your double crochets. But it's the effect of the shawl. But look at this is all that skein gave me. I don't want to do multiple skeins because this stuff is, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't feel too heavy, but the shape of their shawl this, the end that you finish on is more squared. And the shawls that I like, you know, there's like a boomerang to it almost. And this, it's just very, very straight. It's very straight. Like this edge is supposed to be the straight edge of the corner. Let's just look at it like this. So it's supposed to grow like most shawls do, but the portion that goes this way, when I saw the lady's finished project, and it was stubby. It just like barely went like this and was this giant chunk at the end. And that's what I was worried about when I made my very first shawl. And my favorite stitch to do on pretty much all the stuff I do is back loop crochet, so that it gives it that like ribbed effect. And it wasn't hard to start it. And I do like the little bits on the side there because they're not in the majority of it, but it's not going over as much as I wanted it to. This is not reaching over as much as I want. I know you know what I mean. I don't know why I'm trying to explain it to death, but it's so straight. It's not doing the thing. So I started, so I can put this away now. I had to bring like all my stuff in the car. Every time I try to make a video at home, like his dad will want to say something and he'll come out to the trailer, or like Keith will come home like way early or whatever. And it's not that I'm hiding the videos so much as it's like, it's easier for me to be me when he's not judging and watching me all the time. But so I started this shawl a couple days ago. I haven't worked on it a great deal. I did some last night, but I have such bad rheumatoid problems, even when I wasn't fat. And my joints, anytime you touch my arms anywhere, my arms fall asleep really painfully. And so when I crochet and knit, majority of the time I'm laying in bed. And so I lay on my side with my elbow on the pillow and a big giant chunk of pillows underneath me. So my arms fall asleep so fast, so I got to sit up, then lay down, sit up, then lay down, sit up, then lay down, back and forth. So I was working on this for a couple days, but all the my favorite asymmetrical shawl pattern is where you knit one, then knit front and back, knit to the end, and then when you turn, you slip a stitch and knit to the end. I like that. And this is going to be really nice. Like the length coming out this way already is making me happy. And this is how much I got barely even working into the skein. And I think the skein that I grabbed this off of, I cut from that blanket. So it's not even a full skein. But now that I know that I like this better and it works up, everybody says that crocheting takes more yarn, but if you really think about it, while we're knitting, if you were to compare like what we're doing, it is like we're slip stitching in crochet, which, you know, doesn't take very long, but slip stitching obviously makes tighter work and everything. But this is, I love those little, ooh, texture is so beautiful. And my favorite part is the edge. I love that you could see that the difference. I do not like increasing by yarning over, because when I miss one, the way that the yarn over looks is I can't tell if it happened. But with this, you can see such a stark edge. You can see if you missed one, you can go back and fix it. So yeah, and I'm using on the blanket that I'm knitting, I'm using US 10 6mm, but on the I took these off and started put caps on the end and started using these to make this, and for some reason it was knitting tighter than I wanted. So even though the blanket works just fine, the 2x2 rib, so I put a 10.5 US and then the 6.5mm, and it's working faster. It's like flowing better. It's sliding better. I haven't got to use this size yet. I have all the marbles set, and I pretty much only use like the bigger ones, because I was making hats before. So I've got this going, and now that I remember that I tore this off of one that was already going on that blanket, I realized this isn't going to be a whole skein, because I wanted to see how much a whole skein would make up of this compared to the other one. Shoot, I don't have another whole one. Fudge. I wanted to keep the crochet one crocheted to see how the size difference worked out and how it stretched out and whatever, using just one skein and seeing where it ended up. But now I realize that 2 of the skeins that I had are in the blanket, and this was the 3rd portion of that on the blanket, and I cut it off just to start this to see if I liked this better, and I didn't want to rip the crocheted one out. So now that I know I don't want the crocheted one anymore, maybe I'll just measure it. But I didn't work the whole thing up. I don't know. It's all what it is. But I like the knit one better. One of these days I'm going to have to make a shawl that actually has the knit stitches on one side and the pearls on the other, just to, because I think knitting, I love crocheting, and I don't think one is better than the other, but there is something to an item that has the knit stitch on one side. It just looks kind of posh, or, you know, so yeah. Very pretty. I'm having a lot of fun. I've never had this many projects before. Like, I'm working on the white blanket, the green blanket is on standby, and then this and that little baby hat. It's not a baby hat. I mean, it's just so, the material is so tiny, you could squeeze the whole hat in your hand. And that's not really a project I'm intending on having like a deadline on. It's pretty much just this and the white blanket that need to get finished. I told my boss that I would make her this a long time ago, like a month or 2 ago. When they saw me working up this blanket, they were like, oh my God, those colors, like those are really cool stripy colors. And so I was like, well, I will totally knit you a shawl out of it, because they do conventions and stuff like that. Like they go to Comic-Con type of stuff. And when this specific colorway really makes me think, when the shawl shape is there, the asymmetrical shawl shape is there, it really makes me think of like a warrior's outfit, like the rough kind of earth colored stuff. So I'm really having a good time making this. I really want the damn white blanket to be done, because it's just, my ex-husband used to be the most supportive crochet husband, because back then I only crocheted a little bit. I knitted at the end, but he would build me the dopest nests, because back then I was 338 pounds and I was crocheting and knitting, or crocheting and crafting all the time, because I was his primary caregiver, because he had really, 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 really bad health problems. And so I would be his caregiver, but I would just sit and craft all day, and he would build me these nests out of pillows, blankets, pillowcases with clothes in them. And I would have both my arms propped up high enough that I could just do this, and there was something supporting my back but not shoving me forward, and my legs had a little bit of a raised thing for my legs to go on, like those Craftmatic beds. You remember those would be dope nowadays, because they keep everything elevated in a way that your limbs aren't falling asleep, and I didn't have to shift positions so often, because the only position I'm actually fully out of pain in is laying on my stomach doing stuff. But you can't really knit and crochet on your stomach because your elbows go numb. I mean, you're pushing on your elbows makes your hands go numb. He also used to untangle my yarn. Like, he was super excited when my yarn got tangled, because he just loved to feel like the hero. And I actually taught him how to crochet, and he, even though his memory was like 10-second Tom sometimes, he retained the knowledge to crochet and helped me finish some Afghans for Christmas one year, and make some scarves. He made his sister and his mom scarves. And I really wish I had a good nest, and I have enough bedding and blankets and stuff to make a nest. But when my boyfriend gets home, you know, dinner is made and everything's clean and the dishes are done and all that stuff. And then he's usually in a lot of pain because of what he does at work all day. So I have to make sure his bed is ready for him to just lay in rather than having all of our bedding sitting all over it. So if I was to put everything, I have to make my bed first, because all the stuff from my bed has to be up on his bed. So all the stuff from my bed is up there. Then I put the mat down, then the inflatable thing down, then my blankets, which I have like sleep on like 3 or 4 blankets. I'm like the princess in the bee over here. And then my heated blanket, my comforter, and my silky blanket. And then I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6 pillows in different shapes that go kind of around me to keep me wedged in this nice little column where I put my legs and stuff like that. So I'm sure I could get a good nest going, but the problem is my light faces this way off that table. So I would have to sit here facing that way. So maybe I'll try to make myself a nest. Everybody always suggests those back pillows with the little arms, but the arms are so low down, it doesn't make your hands go high up. Because the problem with my arms falling asleep is my arms get squished too much on the inside. Just the littlest pressure makes my arms fall asleep. It's really quite awful at this point. I need to start juicing again and, taking better care of myself, because either I don't eat for a really long time or days, because there's nothing to make for dinner, or I'll make a really nice dinner, and he likes to eat sweets constantly. And when he makes me mad, I eat candy, which I usually don't eat candy at all. So I haven't really been doing as much as I should. I drink a lot of water, but I use those little powder things sometimes also that you can mix with water. This one's like a lemonade one. I need to check what the sugar content of that is. But I'm really enjoying this project. This is how much is left on the skein. I need to figure out where I joined on this blanket to see how long ago it actually started, to know how much of this I'm missing into that blanket, because I wanted to do this with a whole skein. Let me do the picture. I did that the other day with this cooking video I made and posted on my Facebook. And then I forgot that Facebook doesn't make you put a cover photo on the video. So I think in the video start, when you go onto Facebook and you look at the video that I posted, I'm going like this. I'm like, shit, it doesn't let you do a cover photo. It just picks a random moment in the video. I look like a silly. But the chicken thing I made was dope. Oh my God. I did a little bit of oil, a little bit of butter, and chopped up some big chunks of onion and threw that in, cooked the chicken tenders, which is what I was just eating a minute ago. And then after that's mostly cooked and tender, you're not trying to brown the chicken. You're just trying to cook it all the way through. And I cook it with a lid on and add a little bit of water, so that everything is steaming and cooking and boiling and cooking, and I'm doing all this juicy goodness at the same time. Then I poured a can of corn on top of it and cooked it for a little longer. And then I took 2 bags of the pre-made Uncle Ben's rice, the Spanish style one, and squished it so that because you know how when you pour those bags of that crap out, it's like a big brick of rice. I poured that in and mixed it all around and cooked it like that for a little while, added a few more things of water, because I like it to meld everything together. So I burn off the water by adding water and stirring it, and then it just and the rice needed to absorb some of the water a little bit better, and it turned out so good. And of course I use seasoning salt, Mrs. Dash, pepper. Mrs. Dash is whew. And my seasoning salt, my Lowry seasoning salt, yeah. But it was super, super good, and I'm eating some here on my break. But yeah, so I think that I'm going to just have a ball with this. And I'm watching a bunch of podcasts. I'm watching Messy Maker's Mind and Grocery Girls and the Knitters League. I really enjoy them. A bunch of friends together doing their thing and being all spunky and stuff. It's really cool. And I want to make a video. I'm going to make a video sometime this week. No, it has to be the weekend, because it has to be when he's gone at his son's house. Okay. Sometime this week, I'm going to make a knit with me video, and I'm just going to have the camera over my shoulder, and I'm going to be knitting. I don't know what I'm going to do sound-wise, because I will need to be watching a movie while it's happening, which will probably have to be playing on my tablet, so I'll have to have the hotspot on. Because we don't have internet. His dad doesn't have internet. But I get a lot of enjoyment out of those movies. If I had my way, I would have him fix the canopy out on the Easy Up, and so that I could be underneath it with some blankies and some snuggles stuff, and like a footrest and all that stuff, and you would be behind me looking that way, and he would set the fire pit, the propane fire pit we have, up in front of me, and I would be knitting, and you could see the crackling fire, and you could be seeing me knitting and all that kind of stuff. But those are my ideal knit with me videos, when they have a fireplace, because it feels like you're in a cozy cabin, and that's like the goal, right? Like, that's totally the goal. I totally thought this was going to be like a 10-minute video. I'm so sorry. I noticed I hate the analytics on these videos, because I don't think anybody's still here now, because it keeps saying to me the drop off of people listening, and I'm like, don't show me that. I just want to pretend like I'm actually reaching people, that people actually want to see my face, that people want to hear my little trailing offs while I'm talking about knitting and stuff like that. That is why I'm doing it, because I need somebody to talk to. And so I am. But it's telling me when people stop listening, and it sucks. And then the comments, like, stopped. And, yeah. Can't get a hold of the person that was messaging me, like, at all. Whatever. This is, like, super fun to me, so I guess I'll just pretend like I'm in a cabin knitting, and that I have people that are watching all the time. But gotta go back to work. My break was only 15 minutes, and that was 10 or 15 minutes ago. Thank you for watching. Get your knitting done. Watching them podcasts where they're like, I had time to knit, look how much work I've done. And I'm like trying to work on like a billion things at once like a dork. And cook and clean.